Hey there, welcome to Teapot Cozy Class. We're going to talk about a couple of my favorite techniques, Fair Isle color work, that's my cat, and steeking, which is when you selectively cut open your knitting to open it up. So the classic example of steeking is making a pullover into a cardigan, but we're going to do a little steeking, so we're not going to cut all the way. So you can kind of see, well, here. So this is the first version of the cozy, and I just worked back and forth and did a little garter edge. So that would be where the handle goes, and this would be where the spout goes, or either way around. This version is constructed more like a hat. So you have the front, you have the back, and then it's worked in the round. So we're going to cut open where we want our handle and our spout. So you can see that I have done a little middle stitch here in the accent color. So that's a nice clear line for me to cut on. So what we have to do before we cut is reinforce. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a crochet slip stitch in the stitch next to it. So I don't know if you can see it, but I've done, so here's where my chart ends, and then I've got a purl, and then I've got a knit, and then I've got a purl, and then I've got a knit, and that's where I'm going to cut. I've got a purl, I've got a knit, and a purl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinforce with that knit stitch that's in the 1x1 ribbing, and then I'm going to pick up my, I guess, button band on this very outer knit stitch. So let's reinforce. Sometimes I do this on the sewing machine, but this is a small enough thing. I'm just gonna do it right here with a crochet hook. And again, we are going to stop where the color work ends. So I'm just gonna go in 1 or 2 stitches above it, take my color that is not the main color, and just start crocheting 1 for 1. And this part is always so awkward to do on camera. Well, it's awkward in real life, but doing it on the camera doesn't help. So we want to make sure we catch from underneath, we want to make sure we're catching those accent colors that are floating across the back. Because the whole point of reinforcing is to catch all those stitches and all those floats from behind, so when we cut our steek open, the stitches stay where we want them. Alright, so I have got my reinforcement lines in that darker purple color. So we can do a couple things at this point. We can pick up that outer purple, that knit stitch on the other side of that little purl bridge, so the very outside of the pattern. We can pick that up on double pointed needle. So you would start, oh my gosh, this cat. So you would start, at either the top or bottom, and then kind of work your way around on double points. Or you can steek and pick it up later. So since I have the daylight right now and my husband is not running the leaf blower at this exact second, I'm going to cut the steek so you can see what that looks like. You will need sharp scissors. And I normally put something on the bottom. I'm gonna go grab a book real fast. Okay, that is a lesson learned the hard way. Have something between your layers of knitting when you cut a steek. Okie dokes. So I'm gonna start with that very first hot pink stitch. I'm just gonna go in and take your time. You can't undo this, by the way. I'm just going to cut down that middle of that row. Great. All right, we've cut a steek. We have a hole in our knitting. So it ends with this first stitch that we didn't cut. So that, oops, I've got a couple stragglers in there. There we go. So there we go. Now I'm going to go around with my double points and kind of start here, work my way around. We're gonna have to fudge it a little bit since it's not gonna be perfectly in straight lines. Gonna go around with my double points and pick that up and do a ribbed button band. Okay, so I have just picked up the stitches around the steek that we cut, and I did that on double pointed needles. So had my needles like this. Oh, there's the second, there's the third, and there's the fourth. And I just went round and round in a knit 2 purl 2 ribbing, and I decreased on the top and the bottom, so that way it doesn't stick out quite as far. Okay, now it's time to address that raw edge that we left when we steeked. So we're gonna carefully flip our Teapot cozy inside out. See, we've got that raw edge, and we can handle this a couple different ways. So you can take a ribbon or a piece of fabric, and you can cut it, and you can just gently sew it down over that raw edge, covering that. You can also pick up and kind of do another button band. So you would pick up something like right here and knit and purl just stockinette stitch, not ribbing, just until it's long enough to cover that raw edge. Then you would bind off and then just tack it down. I recommend doing that in a smaller yarn or a thinner yarn. So this is done in worsted weight, so I would do that part in a sport or even a fingering. I'm going to go grab something else I've steeked so I can show you. So this is actually my very first steek. So you see the button band is in the same color as the front, same yarn. And then to hide my raw edges, I picked up in a totally different color just for fun. So worsted weight, fingering weight, worked just long enough to cover that rough edge. And then I bound off in my main color. So I switched just for that row, bound off, and then I sewed it down in that main color so it doesn't show through turquoise on the other side. So you just get a fun little pop there. Since it's the inside of a teapot, it doesn't have to be brilliant, but you just don't want those edges to fall apart if you wash it.